Hi there, Virgo. I'm EllaAradia, and welcome to your April 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Virgo Earth signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading, so it's going to resonate a little bit differently for all of you. But what I find is there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Virgo signs. It may show up in different areas of your life in slightly different ways, but the theme is always the same. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoy this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Virgo, let's jump in. So I'd like to tune into the energies first, Virgo, before I start pulling any cards. I'm also a psychic reader, so I like to see what the universe shows me. I see the word disappointment. I feel some sadness. And to me, it feels like there has been some kind of sudden change in your life, a recent sudden change where something has completed or something didn't turn out the way that you hoped it would or that you wanted it to. Because I do feel sadness, disappointment. I get the sense of, feeling let down. And for some of you, I feel like there may even be some kind of betrayal in this. I get the energy of somebody else being chosen over you. That's what I'm feeling here. In whatever way that's showing up for you, that might be related to career. This could be a love connection that this is showing up in for you. But somehow, whatever it is, there's always a soul lesson. There's always something that, the universe is wanting you to learn from this situation. But of course, it can be, it can be very challenging. I do feel like there's some quite difficult, challenging emotions going on for you. And it's brought all your stuff up, basically. Because the universe is wanting you to really look at that and work through it so that you can move into a better place in your life. You can move closer to what you really want. And sometimes to do that, it does involve, change inside of us. It does involve us to, be brave, have the courage to kind of go within and face, some of these old issues that have perhaps been there, for a long time, that have been kind of pushed to the side. But sometimes, life happens and things really get shaken up. Because to me, it feels like there is also some kind of diversion involved in this as well. You're meant to walk a different path. You are meant to discover more of yourself somehow. You are meant to perhaps have a different experience, perhaps meet a new person. So with your overall energies, we have the Seven of Swords. This is this energy of betrayal that I'm feeling. I do feel for some of you, there's some kind of third-party influence at play in this situation. And it feels like a betrayal. It's the energy of feeling like you've been blindsided somehow. And I'm not sure if that's always really true, because I often think in these situations we have a sense, we have an intuition of something. And a lot of the time, it's almost like we don't want to see, we don't want to listen to what, our intuition is telling us. Sometimes, I have come across people who it really does appear, that they very much have been blindsided. So I feel like your partner has chosen somebody else. They've chosen to explore a connection with somebody else, and it feels like it's come out of the blue. I don't feel like it has, but I get the sense of, whoever you're dealing with hasn't been honest with you. They haven't been, really sharing their true feelings. They haven't been, saying that, something needs looking at in the connection. They haven't been telling you that they're not 100% happy. And instead of dealing with the issues here, what they've done, I feel, for those of you that this relates to love, they've seeked out what they felt was missing in the connection with you with somebody else. And whoever this person is that they have chosen, to me, it feels like they're filling that void. And so for them, they're going to go through this pattern again until they learn what they need to learn. There was an invitation to, really work on this connection with you, but they haven't. They haven't been able to step up to that because they haven't been able to deal with their own issues. Perhaps they haven't, they weren't really ready for a mature relationship and what that takes, because it takes time, it takes investment, and it's a choice to make that commitment. And so what I feel has happened, whoever they've chosen, it's someone that kind of, gives a boost to their ego. It's what we call kind of sometimes dating down. They've gone where it's emotionally safer. But ultimately, my question is around that. Will it be fulfilling for them? Because it feels like it's not starting on a strong foundation. Because I feel like there's been some contact with this person while they've been in the connection with you that you haven't known about. You may have had an intuition. This is this thing. I'm not sure if we're ever truly blindsided. Maybe sometimes, but a lot of the time we have a sense of something. We just don't want to allow ourselves to really feel it or see it. So what lies in your recent past is strength. This is what I was talking about at the beginning. Whatever this situation is, it's really brought your stuff up to the surface. I feel the energy of comparison. I feel the energy of not feeling chosen, and therefore I'm unloved, I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. And a feeling of being discarded and feeling alone. And I do feel a lot of sadness, and it feels like it's a lot for you at the moment, and it's quite overwhelming. For some of you, this is showing up in the workplace where, there may have been a job or a promotion that you were going for, something like that. Something was promised. I do feel like something was promised to some of you, or you were given an indication that, this new job, this new opportunity was coming your way. And what seems like at the last moment, that's been given to somebody else. And again, comes up the same kind of feelings around not being chosen, not being enough in some way, not being good enough. And, these are the lessons that this is bringing up, to choose yourself and heal those wounds from the past. Usually these are things that go way back into childhood. A lot of things happen between sort of, the first 7 years. And it's always an interesting thing, to go back to childhood and look at, the dynamics with parents. Doesn't have to mean that there's kind of major trauma there or anything like that. These can be really subtle dynamics that can, really affect us. There might be a father wound, a mother wound for some of you, where there was a sense perhaps of not being chosen or not having your needs prioritized, not feeling like a priority. And it's interesting because the person, for those of you that this does relate to love, that's just kind of where I'm going a bit more strongly with, really. But the person that you're dealing with, which is the other thing that often happens, we end up attracting people where we have this very, very similar, things to learn. We have the same wounds, but created in slightly different ways, because the person that you're dealing with here also has, a father wound, a mother wound, where it wasn't safe to be seen. It wasn't safe to show their feelings, because they were invalidated, or they were unacknowledged or unseen in that way. And that was their challenge, I feel, to overcome in this connection with you. So what lies in your current energies? We have the Nine of Cups. So with strength in your most recent past, first of all, that's a message, Virgo, to let you know that you have the strength to really get through this. But it may involve, facing some of these fears, of working through those feelings of not being enough in some way, or feeling like you've been discarded, or you haven't been chosen. Because this goes way back. This goes way back before this lifetime. I feel that, many of us actually come into this life with certain life lessons to learn. And they do say that, in a spiritual perspective, we choose our parents because they best, create the ground through these dynamics in order for us to learn these lessons. And I feel like it's always been about you and learning these lessons. The other people really are just players in that learning pattern. And so that's why it's so important to, always look at, what is this teaching me? What am I learning from this situation? Because that is where your point of power is. Because when you can look at things in that way and go within and, really work through these issues, embody these soul lessons, you can actually create change. We can't change other people, so it's always to look at, why have I attracted this situation? Why have I attracted a person like this? And so the thing is, if that person is not able to step up and open up and be available to you, they are actually mirroring that there's still some part of you that's not fully available. And the thing is, until we really can truly love ourselves, know our worth and our value, and acknowledge our needs and choose ourselves in that way, until you can do that for yourself, then you won't attract somebody that can mirror that back to you. So that's why it's so important. So the Nine of Cups is, maybe a little bit of time here to just really work on that. Sometimes after a breakup, or where something has kind of fallen through and it's left us feeling a little bit lost, a little bit empty and alone, it's often when the universe is wanting you to work on yourself. So the Nine of Cups it's one step away from the Ten of Cups, which is emotional fulfillment. The figure on the card, as you can see, the legs are a little bit apart, the arms are folded. So there's a slightly guarded energy here. And in a love reading, this speaks of someone that's single. And, it's all about the balance here and having the discernment, moving forwards around who do you give all of that love to. It might be a lesson here in like really treasuring what you have to give, because you do have so much to give, but the thing that needs to happen here is, this is the moment to do that for yourself, even if it's challenging, even if it's difficult. And that's what these energies of the Nine of Cups are all about. And, you know, I do feel a strong energy of deception. You know, the Seven of Swords, it's an energy of, you know, this is your overall energy. It's things being hidden. It's somebody not being honest. It's somebody sneaking around behind your back. You know, I see, you know, conversations, text messages. You know, I feel like, you know, if there wasn't already something going on with your person and whoever they have kind of chosen to sort of explore, you know, that connection with, you know, there's definitely some messaging I feel going on, and, you know, things that they didn't want you to see. And it's the worst feeling in the world, isn't it, to find out that, you know, someone that you've really poured your heart into in a very honest, you know, open way has kind of done that, rather than, you know, being emotionally mature enough to actually talk about things as they happen and work on issues. But in some ways, you know, I feel like perhaps they were just part of this lesson and they weren't really meant to stay. Because there's something about this situation, Virgo, where it feels like a diversion to me as well. I feel like you're meant to walk a different path. Your feelings towards your situation, the Three of Wands, and that is a card of growth and of expansion and new horizons. You know, it's, you see the scenery in the background. It's about possibility, new beginnings, but it may involve, you know, moving out of your comfort zone here. And focusing on yourself, working through these emotions. And as you do, you know, when the time feels right, it's definitely an energy I'm feeling around, you know, maybe a moment to explore more of yourself and get yourself out there, meet new people, have new experiences. And, you know, no one said it would be easy. And sometimes it's just about, you know, one step at a time. The challenge here is the Five of Swords. That's conflict. Very often that's conflict, you know, external conflict. You know, there may have been, you know, this may have been an ending that, you know, ended in conflict with harsh words that were spoken. And often this is an energy of, you know, somebody wanting to be right, regardless of, you know, the damage to the connection. It's someone digging their heels in. It's an ego-driven fight. So there's not a lot of healthy communication in that card. But it's also an energy, for those of you that resonate here, Virgo, around perhaps cutting ties with people, places, situations which feel unhealthy. That, you know, letting go of perhaps what's truly over and done with here. Because you deserve more, is what I'm hearing. You deserve better. The hidden influence is the devil. And the devil is very much a wake-up call. It's a call to, you know, really look at, you know, negative patterns, toxic behaviors that might be keeping you held to someone, you know, someone, to the past or to something. And it's a big invitation to really work on your shadows, so to work on those issues that I was talking about and face any fears, you know, that might be holding you back from breaking free and moving forward. So the figures on the card, the chains around the neck are loose, and they can take them off at any moment, because really the devil is a card of breaking free, integrating the shadow, integrating the fears, the issues, and remembering that, you know, you do have the power to do that. You do have the strength, you have the power to do that. But it may involve of, you know, letting go of, you know, something that somehow feels familiar. And again, I would kind of just encourage you to go back into childhood and really look at this connection and see if, is there something about this that feels familiar to childhood? Because we tend to recreate what we know and what feels familiar. We also form our definitions of love, relationships, what that is, what that should look like. And, you have someone here who wasn't fully available in some way. And there may be something about that feels familiar, and how that kind of made you feel as a child in terms of feeling chosen or seen or recognized in some way, or having love shown to you in the way that you really needed. So there's a big invitation here with that devil to, just to be brave. And, this is an opportunity to perhaps, walk a different path. Like I said at the beginning, I feel like there's more to this. You're meant to walk a different path, and you're meant to, I feel, shine your light and really reach your full potential here, Virgo. So, don't be afraid to let go of, someone who, is toxic. There's something about that's unhealthy. And, it feels to me there's been a lot of dishonesty and betrayal. And I really do feel like this person, is more of a lesson rather than a life partner for you. In terms of career, so for those of you that this does relate to career, again, feel into that situation, because I feel like it is something you put a lot of work into, and it hasn't really been kind of coming back to you. And there is a sense of, I feel, just getting a bit drained and tired and not really feeling appreciated. And, everything really does happen for a reason. And I do feel that there's something more out there for you. And again, if you can look at this situation, from a standpoint of a bigger picture, that, this is some kind of diversion. You're meant to walk a different path, because that path is going to lead you, I feel, to something much more, and to something, I feel, that's more aligned with your heart. And so sometimes I feel like, just trust. I do feel that we do need to trust more sometimes in what unfolds, because later on down the road, it will make sense, and you will see why all of this has happened. Even if you can't see that just now, even if the present situation is a little bit challenging, you will get through this. But it's really important to move forward in a different energy here, knowing your worth, your value, and really embodying, those soul lessons, and really knowing absolutely what you have to offer, what you have to share, your skills, your experience, all of that. And, really following your heart moving forwards. So in your guidance, we have the Two of Wands. So this is a crossroads. This is where you are. You either kind of hang on in that toxic situation, or you choose this new path that the universe is bringing in for you. So when you look at the image here, one foot is, pointing, it's anchored in the past, in what feels familiar and safe. It's anchored in what is known. And the other foot is facing forwards to a new possibility or potential. So there is a choice to be made here. It's particularly with career, it might not mean the end of, being at a certain company. You could still stay there, even if that promotion fell through, or, whatever it was for you. But is it really going to help you to grow and reach your full potential? That's the question. And so there is a caution here around, not repeating the same patterns of the past, not staying in something unhealthy or something toxic just because it kind of feels safe in some way. So there's a decision that needs to be made. You're at a crossroads, and the most important thing to do, I feel, is make a choice which leads you into a better place in yourself and in your life. And, just be brave. You've got the strength. You have the courage to do this. There's much more out there for you. I really feel that. What lies in your outcome is the world. And, this is an invitation for a significant chapter to come to a close. I feel like it represents the ending of, a pattern. The world is, endings and beginnings. So a whole new chapter waits for you. It's a card of an upgrade. It's a card of a graduation. And within this card, it is about growth and learning and evolving. When we move into a new chapter, that involves all of that happening. And I feel like it represents the ending of a pattern, the ending of the way in which you've been learning these soul lessons, because we tend to learn these soul lessons in quite negative or dualistic ways. And that's what I feel is coming to a close now. It's enough of, not feeling appreciated. It's enough of not being chosen, not feeling good enough, not having that love returned, not feeling appreciated. And it's time, for you to have all of that, but it requires you showing up differently, and that requires you choosing yourself. I hope that makes sense. So Virgo, I'm going to leave that there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thanks so much for being here, Virgo, and I wish you a great month ahead.